Okay, I'm getting a little bored with this cabin thing, and I want to get this boat in the water, even if I just run around with the motor. But because this hull is so shallow, I've got to put some kind of lateral plane, even with the motor. And of course, I'll need it when I'm sailing. And I've probably put more thought into what the lateral plane is going to be than any other part of this whole project. Now, my first choice would be a nice big centerboard. I've used centerboards in lots of boats, and I never remember any of them giving me any kind of trouble. But putting a centerboard in this boat would be a fair amount of work. There's the bunks and there's bulkheads in the way, and then even if I was able to put it in there, it would totally destroy the cabin. So we're not going to do that. So the other options. Okay, also, this boat draws about 9 inches, and I don't want it to draw any more than that. So that means that shallow keels with centerboards in it, bilge keels, twin bilge keels, all of that. I don't want any of that, because all of that does increase the draft at least a little bit. Okay, so what does that leave? That leaves 1 or 2 dagger boards, or 1 or 2 lee boards. Well, the dagger boards, that's a fair amount of work, cutting through and going down. And there's 2 problems that I see with that. One is you run up on a sandbar, that thing can jam, and that can cause a lot of problems. The other thing is you can't swing it back and forth like a centerboard to adjust the balance with the sail plan. So I don't want to mess with dagger boards. Okay, that leaves lee boards. Now, I've got a fair amount of experience with lee boards. From about the time I was 10 or 12 years old till the time I was in my 20s, I sailed on 4 different meadowlarks. And I got to say, they never were really a problem. But of course, up there you sail all the time, and usually you go off and you're on one tack for an hour or 2, and so you don't really have any problem with lee boards. But if you're doing a lot of short tacking, it can be a nuisance. And also, I think they can be a problem under power, although we never really powered, because in Buzzards Bay there's always a wind blowing. So in all those years, I probably didn't power on a meadowlark more than an hour total. But I can see you're going down the waterway and a sport fish comes by and you got the boards down, and I think it would be awkward to have just one down on the power, because you're turning this way and that way and it's out and it's in. And then the other thing is, if you go in reverse, the minute you start going in reverse, these things are going to swing out like that, and God, that's a mess. So I don't want to do that. So what I have come up with is I want to have 1 lee board that can swing up and down, but also will stay up against the hull on either tack. And then I'm going to have a lee board on the other side that can swing out in the normal fashion. Number 1, because it's just easier to do. And number 2, you do reduce the problem of damage, at least if you're on that tack. So that's what we're going to do. A lee board on this side swings up and down. A lee board on that side that is just free to swing anywhere it wants to swing. But we're going to start with the one that stays up and down, because I could just go out with the motor and motor nicely. It'll stay put, and we can use the boat that way. Also, I'm hoping that I can sail the boat with that 1 lee board, at least sometimes. And what I see is you get settled in on a nice port tack and everything's fine. Then you put that lee board down for better efficiency and off you go. But we'll see what happens. This is kind of an experiment. We don't know how it's all going to work, but we'll find out. Okay. Here's some pictures of lee boards and centerboards that I've used in the past. Okay, so I've decided to go with a leeboard that I can use on both tacks and also swings up and down. Well, I had the good fortune to have this piece of aluminum here. That was to hold the radar on a 38-foot Novi lobster boat. So I'm going to take advantage of this to mount the leeboard on. I've already cut through the hull, and I used a piece of 1/2-inch starboard to make a nice bearing and to finish off that hole. And there's quite an angle to it. And okay, so cutting an angle through something with a hole saw is kind of hard to do. Plus, I didn't have a 1/2-inch chuck. I did try it with my bit brace, but when you have a big hole saw like that, it takes quite a bit of pressure, and it's hard to get any pressure on it on a vertical surface. But anyway, back to the bit brace. This is one of the handiest darn tools, and we're so used to using our power tools that that's what we use normally. But there's so many cases where a bit brace really does the trick. I mean, it's variable speed, it's high torque, it's reversible, and doesn't require a cord of batteries. And you can do an awful lot of work with that. Almost as fast as with a power tool. You're running screws, you can run screws in just as fast, almost as a power tool, especially if they're big. But anyway, enough of that. So what I did, I cut the holes in that plastic on the drill press, which of course the hole came out square, but the starboard is so soft and easy to work with. It was nothing to use this rasp file to get the angle I needed. And so this will go through on that angle, and because of the way this all works, I'm going to be able to adjust the angle of attack for each tack. But I really suspect that after a while it'll get put in line with the boat, and that's where it's going to stay. But it'll be fun to play with anyway. I like doing that kind of stuff. So we'll see what happens. These little support pieces it had come up pretty tall, so I'm cutting these off so I can get it in further. But as it turns out, because of the curvature of the boat, it's going to stick out quite a bit, so it'll clear the hull back here. Lost my train of thought. I can edit this. But now, with it sticking out like that, it just seems awful for going through the water. And I find that kind of troublesome. But if it is a problem, I can make some kind of a little fairing. It could be even out of fabric, just to kind of direct the water around it somehow. But it may not even be that big a problem. Okay, like I was saying, I want this to be able to move like this to change the angle of attack. And the way I'm going to do that, I got this little nylon bearing here, and these are pretty cool. These are what go in the spring on a trailer. This one cost $1, but they're really handy. They got a 1/2-inch hole in, and I use them for a lot of different things. And I'm going to use it for a nice little bearing that's going to come out the end of this pipe. So it'll roll nice and easy when I'm trying to change the angle of attack. Now I got these two. I cut these off our trailer roller, and they're 3 inches in diameter. I got to cut an 1/8 of an inch off all the way around. So the way I'm going to do that is, the hole is 5/8. I put a piece of 1/2-inch water hose that happens to be 1/2 inch inside, 5/8 outside, on this bolt here. So we're going to put that on there like that. Okay, hold the phone, stop. Okay, so what I'm trying to do is make a plug to go in there, and it's a little too big. So we're going to grind that down. We'll put this in the screw press. Okay. Okay, let's set this to the size we want. That looks pretty good. Oh, we got a long way to go. So, go. Okay, we got this finished. Put the little nylon bearing thing in the middle to spread this out to give it a little more stability. We got the little roller on the end, and that's going to slide right in there like that. A couple of screws around the edge, flathead screws, and then this will be able to roll so we can change the angle of attack. And like I say, we'll probably never do it, but it'll be there if we want to. Okay, here we have the support for the end of this pipe that comes through the hull. And I got it fastened with a couple little aluminum angles here bolted through the bulkhead. And then I have an extra little brace that goes from here over to the bulkhead, and that's to stabilize this in this direction. And then here is the slot that allows me to adjust my angle of attack. And also I put a little safety wire on here just in case something breaks. It will hold it in. Okay, the next video is going to be making the lead board. That should be kind of fun.